Welcome to Feminine Roadmap Podcast. I'm your host, Gina-r-Farrar. Each week, I bring you an inspiring conversation to help you navigate the challenges and changes of midlife so that you can not only survive, but thrive in your second half. Hello, Feminine Roadmappers. It is Gina here, and today we are going to be talking about managing stress. My guest, Valerie Ramsey, has 8 steps to help us manage stress so that we can live healthy, full lives right now. Valerie Ramsey is a mother of 6, a grandmother of 8. She is a former PR director for Pebble Beach. She's a model and the author of 2 books, Gracefully, Looking and Being Your Best at Any Age, and Creating What's Next Gracefully. So, Valerie, thank you so much for being on my show again.
Thank you so much for having me, Gina. This is great fun. I love it.
So I know you, obviously, we're friends, but I would love for you to take a minute and just kind of let people know who you are before we jump into our topic today.
Okay. Well, I started out, always wanted a big family. My husband and I raised 6 children in Greenwich, Connecticut, where he was teaching. And I was a stay-at-home mom with all those kids, and that was great. And then when I turned 50, we moved out to the West Coast, to the Monterey Peninsula, which is where the famous Pebble Beach resorts are, and Carmel, California, which probably a lot of your audience knows of, and Monterey. So when we got out there, the kids were grown. I thought, okay, Valerie, now it's your time to go out there and do something fulfilling and interesting and have an exciting career. And I thought, well, if we live within a couple of miles of Pebble Beach, I want to work there. You know, that's the place to be. So I went over, got a job. I had to really start at the very beginning. They put me in the Pebble Beach retail shop, the pro shop. Started out there, but after a few months, I moved into marketing and moved my way up the ladder there until I became an executive assistant to the senior vice president of sales and marketing. And then from that, I became the public relations manager for all of the resorts, which is, for those of your audience who don't know, that's got 4 golf courses. It's Pebble Beach, Spanish Bay, Spyglass, and Del Monte, and then 3 hotels, the Lodge at Pebble Beach, the Inn at Spanish Bay, and Casa Palmero, and 17-mile drive, and a huge, wonderful spa, and 7 restaurants. So it's a very big property, and it was a big job. And I took it, I loved it, I grew with it, I learned all kinds of things. But I think my story there might be interesting to your audience because, you know, here I was 53 and I had to start out, you know, at the very bottom. And I don't want people to be afraid if they're going into the job market. Don't worry if you're starting out at the bottom. You know, you might have to do that, and that's okay. You learn and you grow and you work your way up. So anyway, that worked great for me. And towards the end of it, I was overseeing a photo shoot on the 18th hole at Pebble. And the producer of it he was from Hollywood. He had a big production company. And he said, I really love your looks. I think you should be doing something with them. And I said, I think you're crazy, David. Let's not talk about that. And he said, no, I want to take some pictures and send them to a modeling agency in San Francisco. Let's see what happens. So ultimately, I did sign with Ford Models. And then when we moved to Florida with Wilhelmina Models. And but I still maintained my job at Pebble Beach when I was with Ford. I didn't want to give that up. But it was fun taking on modeling. You know, that was something I'd never done before. I was always pregnant in my 20s, which is, you know, when most people would maybe be in the modeling world. And so then that led to more attention, and ended up writing a book with my daughter, Heather Hummel Gallagher. And that was our first book, Gracefully, Looking and Being Your Best at Any Age, which was published by McGraw-Hill. And then when we moved down to here in South Florida, where I am now, that was when I was 72, we wrote a second book called Creating What's Next Gracefully. And it's all about creating the new next chapter in your life. And that was when Wilhelmina Models down in South Beach contacted me and said, hey, we'd love to meet you. Can you come down? And that was a weird experience at 72, going down to South Beach. I felt like kind of a character out of the Danielle Steele book. This isn't real. It was so foreign to anything I'd ever done. But anyway, I did that. I did the Today Show 5 different times as a guest, and Fox News and Hollywood Extra, and all kinds of really fun television shows. So I enjoyed doing that, and joined the National Speakers Circuit, where I now speak all over the country on a variety of subjects that are of interest to women in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. So that's where I am right now. But with what's been going on in the country, and it's been such a time of unrest for so many of us, it's really been difficult. So I thought I'd like to talk to your audience today, not only about the things I've learned as far as living a healthy, graceful life, but managing stress, because, how do we do that? So that's what I'd like to launch into. And I've got 8 different points that I'm going to cover. The first one is on stress reduction, and I'll give your audience my best ways to combat stress. The second one is building self-confidence, because if you don't have self-confidence, you're not going to know how to handle your life and yourself. You have to have it. And that's not always easy, so I'll talk about that. Nutrition, healthy nutrition is so important. You've got to be strong and healthy from the inside out if you're going to manage stress. Exercise, and that's a bad word to me. I hate it. But living here in South Florida, where it's hot and humid a lot, I have discovered the joys of water aerobics and pool walking. Our doctor told my husband and me that walking for 20 minutes in water about waist deep in your pool is equivalent to an hour's walk out on a hot track or road or whatever. So that works really well for me. I enjoy that a lot. Water aerobics classes, are great. Anything like that you don't get all hot and sweaty and decide you hate it. You have to do something that's enjoyable. The value and the importance of getting a good night's sleep. And several years ago, I had the pleasure of meeting a Dr. Michael Bruce, and I will talk more about that, but he and I have done some things together, and I've written about him in both of my books. So he has some great points that I'd like to pass on. Social engagement. I am with the Speakers Bureau down here in Florida. They had done a 10-year study. It's called Masterpiece Living. They did a 10-year study on what creates what they call successful aging. And the number one thing came out to be social engagement. More important than anything else for a healthy, happy senior life. But I think it's important for younger ones too. And then personal modeling tips, because really I found that when I'm under stress, I want to look good. If I feel like I'm looking my best, I feel better. Even when I was raising my kids, if I came down with a bad cold or something, I didn't slob around the house in sweatpants. I got dressed in jeans and a nice top maybe, and I did my hair and put on some makeup, and I immediately felt better. So I'll talk about some personal modeling tips that I've learned over the 20 years that I've been modeling. That's what I'm going to launch into today, Gina.
Well, because we are all kind of feeling like we know these things, I really want to encourage people to push pause in their life and really listen, because I think sometimes the curse of knowledge means that we don't practice what we know, right? Mm-hmm. So this is going to be a really good reminder for most people, but I imagine that there will be some other options, creative things that they hadn't thought of that might fit their lifestyle really well. So I just wanted to encourage readers, don't check out. I think there's going to be some things here. I know everyone's talking about stress right now, but
Yeah.
this is a good opportunity to really look at it almost like a project. Like how should we do this the best way, right? So let's go ahead and start with your stress reduction tips, your point number 1.
Okay. Well, I'm going to talk right now about 5 behaviors that promote good health. And I think this is interesting. Did you know that 90% of all health problems are related to stress? I didn't know that until a specialist in the field told me that. I thought that was amazing. But then when I thought about it, I thought, well, that really does make sense. So that's one thing. Regular exercise, and I did allude to that with pool walking and water aerobics, or, if you're in a cooler climate, you want to go out jogging or whatever you enjoy doing outside, is just great. I have had a lot of conversations with a nutritionist in LA by the name of Derek Johnson. When I first got my public relations job at Pebble Beach, I knew it was going to be really demanding. And I was in my very early 60s then, I guess. So I heard about Derek and his whole nutrition setup down in LA. And I discovered that you can work with a nutrition remotely. You don't have to go into the office and do it face to face. And I don't think a lot of people know that. And, I've been working with Derek now for 10 years or more, and I've yet to meet him. So, they spend a long time, a couple of hours, maybe even on the phone, learning all about you and what you like and don't like and what your goals are and so on and so forth. And then he sent me, and I'm sure they all do this, a test kit that you can do your own blood, just a little finger prick and nothing, drastic, and urine samples at home. And he sends those into the same labs that do for a lot of the big resort spas. So then he gets back to you, and based on what they found, what your hormone picture looks like, all sorts of things, then he works out a personal regime for you. And then you talk to him maybe once a week. And so anyway, I found that it worked out really well, and he devised a plan that worked well for me. I really love cookies, and I hate Brussels sprouts. So he told me things like, apples with peanut butter on them are really good, snack. Or there are healthy crackers, all different brands that Whole Foods carries, and I'm sure a lot of other nutrition stores do too, that you can also spread almond butter or peanut butter on, and they're just as satisfying as a cookie, if not more so. So it was things like that. He also stressed the importance of a diet that's rich in fruits and vegetables and anti-inflammatory foods, like things that are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, like salmon, walnuts, flaxseed, chia seeds, things like that. So that made having all that information and working with him, it really helped me so much to maintain my goals. I found that you really need to have somebody that you're checking in with and you're talking to, every week or every 2 weeks. It's just so much better than trying to go it on your own. And you don't know enough to go it on your own anyway. So that's that, and I'll get into that some more. Number 4 is how our thoughts and emotions, they have such a dynamic effect on our health and our vitality. So it's important to get out with friends, again, that social aspect, and build relationships. So things, anything that makes you laugh, anything that helps you in these times to see your friends and engage with them, like Zoom or FaceTime, whatever you can do, so at least you see each other. Yesterday for Father's Day, we had children all over the country, and we did a great big Zoom call. And it's just wonderful to be able to at least see the faces of your friends and loved ones, even if you can't get together somewhere. So that one. And then also, I'm sure everybody has heard of the traditional Japanese and Mediterranean diets. They really promote good health and decrease our chances of developing age-related disorders. So those are the 5 behaviors that promote good health. My best ways to combat stress, like I said, 90% of our health issues are related to stress. So keep that in mind. I have some little tips that I have found that really work well for me. Choose a positive thought over a negative thought. We all have that power within ourselves. We can look at the bright side or the negative side. Choose that positive thought. Honestly, the way you talk to yourself has a big impact on how you're going to feel. Adopt a can-do attitude. Tell yourself something is fun, even if it's not. Or tell yourself something is easy, you've got this, even if it's not easy and you don't feel like you have it at all. Just little things like that. Be consciously aware of your thoughts and your thought patterns. Be in the moment, be cognizant of what's going on in your head, and try to keep it positive, keep looking on the bright side. This is interesting. Eliminate negative influences and people. I think sometimes, maybe women especially, we get bogged down with friends that over time, that friendship just isn't working for us anymore. And we find that we really don't enjoy talking to that person or being with that person, or they just, you're nodding your head, so you've been through this too. They're just not somebody that you want to be close to anymore. So it's hard, but I think in cases like that, we just have to let them know, hey, it's been great, but this relationship just isn't working for me anymore, and eliminate them from your life. And believe me, the minute you do that, it's like, phew, the weight of the world is lifted off you. You don't have to, think about that person or worry about getting upset or frustrated or anything anymore. It's wonderful. And then, like Oprah says, gratitude. Think gracious gratitude thoughts. Just be happy and grateful for all the things in your life. I mean, look out the windows and be grateful for the beautiful sun that's shining in the garden on your flowers, or whatever it is. You have a laugh with a girlfriend, just things like that. But thinking and being aware of gratitude makes a big difference, I think, too, in our daily lives. Then the power of the mind. That's a really big thing. I mean, the mind can just shape our lives in so many different ways. And I just got notes on some little tricks that really work for me, or something that I've read that I've have really related to. And I'll share those with your audience. This was a quote from Audrey Hepburn. And she had a Dutch saying that said, "Don't fret, it will happen differently anyway." And doesn't it usually? I found that. Sometimes worrying about something is much worse than the actual thing that you're worrying about, right? Yes. Surrender control and let life surprise you. Don't try to figure out, exactly how something is going to happen. Just have faith that it will happen one way or another. Like I said, surrender the control and let be what will be, and let life come up with a surprise for you. Here's another one that, oh boy, this is so true. The only thing that makes a difference in the way that you are feeling right now is the thought that you are thinking right now. Yes?
It's interesting because I'm thinking about how impactful it is when we're choosing a positive attitude, that some people feel like, well, then you have to pretend that nothing bad is going on. And this point here reminds us that it's not about denying that difficult things are happening or that things are scary, but it's choosing what to focus on.
Right. Yeah. So when that happens, as it does to all of us, you just think to yourself, okay, yes, this is really bad and I'm having a hard time with it. And let that thought sort of, like a balloon go across your thoughts, but then tell yourself, but no matter what, I can handle this. I think we have to acknowledge it. Don't deny it, but don't focus on it either.
Yeah, there's that whole thing about the way our brain works, the reticular activating system. Mm-hmm. If I read a book or I read an ad and I see something, it becomes my brain starts to look for that item in the world around me. So if I choose to focus on all the scary things, all the frightful things, then my brain's going to be like, yep, that's scary, and that's scary, and that's scary. So it's that idea of saying, what good do I see around me? Where can I make a difference? What can I do? And I think definitely during this season of world change, the way that I've coped is to really be very mindful of what I'm thinking and what I'm focusing on. Right. There's always something positive that can be focused on.
Right. There certainly is. Assumptions. Mm. Here's something else that I think we're all guilty of, but we don't think about that much. Don't think too much, because if you do, you're going to create a problem that wasn't even there in the first place. I think we can all kind of relate to that. You tell yourself, oh, well, I didn't get a wave back from this person that I just passed in the mall. They ignored me. They didn't even see me. They must not like me anymore. When in the truth of the matter might be that person didn't have on their glasses and couldn't recognize you from a distance. So don't make assumptions. Our thoughts become our realities. And, everything that we focus on does become more and more real to us. And I know that's a point that a lot of writers have written about. Our thoughts become our realities, but they do. So there again, like you were saying, don't overthink something. Don't make assumptions, or that really bad thing will become your reality. God forbid. Our greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. Inner peace begins the moment you decide not to allow another person or event to control your emotions. True?
Yeah, it's getting away from feeling like a victim and really realizing that we do actually have a choice, don't we?
Mm-hmm. There's something that says something or doesn't say something, whatever it is that upsets you or bothers you. If you let that ruin your day, that's your fault. Just getting out and exercising with friends. Even now, we walk together. We just social distance when we're walking. Yoga classes have opened up. Exercise classes have opened up. Everybody is respecting social distancing in these things, but they're nice things that you can do with your friends. So that's good. And then again, just being engaged with your friends and family is validating, and that in itself releases stress. So there's a lot going on to release stress. Another thing is, I think it's really important to have self-confidence during these times. You don't want to huddle in a corner and say, oh, woe is me, So I'm going to give you some seven tips here on how to boost your own self-confidence and feel better.
That sounds great.
The first one is emote positive energy. You may not necessarily feel it, but you can make yourself look like you are full of positive energy, and it's all body language and looking people in the eye and smiling and engaging, just all of those things. So that's one. Like I said, body language, having good posture, walking with your head up, your shoulders back, just, sort of thinking to yourself, I got this, I'm okay here. I'm as good as they are. I'm maybe even better,
I watched a TED Talk one time, and it was so great. The woman was talking about, she had the whole audience stand up. She said, I want everyone to stand in this superhero pose. Put your feet about shoulder width apart, bring your shoulders back. You know how they do the posters where they're kind of hands on the hips?
Oh, yes.
She said, when we are going into a situation where we might feel anxious or we're not sure, she said, just putting your body in that, it's not an aggressive stance. It's just where you position your shoulders, your hips, and your feet. Exactly. It actually gives you a real sense of confidence. So it's actually a little tip trick you can do if you're not sure. Don't slump. Stand up good and tall. Get your feet kind of square underneath you, and you'll feel more confident.
Yeah, it's so true. That's a good one, Gina. Yeah, I like that. And part of that too is just looking the part. Looking, and you don't have to be super dressed up, but don't be a slob either. Make sure that your clothes fit properly. And I have a local tailor with our cleaners. She does a great job when I get something, because I'm very long-legged and stuff that I need to have adjusted. I take them into her. So you just look better when your clothes fit right, and you feel better too. Feeling good about yourself, your overall self-image starts to transform if you do that. You tell yourself, I'm happy with my body, faults and all. I'm happy with everything that is going on with me. Just trying to have a good self-image. And I think then if you do that, you will find that your image of yourself gets better and better, and people will relate to that. They will see you as a more positive, strong, healthy person too. Having a healthy glow, and we may have to make it with a little blush or something, but having a healthy glow is, people will look at you and be attracted to you. You don't have to be a beauty at all, but it's kind of that inner happiness that comes through that is so important. Well, we talked about dressing well and being, neat and clean and pulled together, and you don't have to have on, fancy dressy pants. You can have blue jeans, but if they fit right and they're becoming, great, and then wear some kind of a top that is very becoming and that you feel wonderful in. And again, it can be super casual, whatever appeals to you. And then as far as exuding self-confidence, sometimes you just have to fake it until you make it. You've heard that before. And it works. Oh.
It's that mindset too, right? Like what we focus on grows. You've probably heard that before.
Yes.
So if I'm busy beating myself up for any reason, the way my body looks, the way my hair looks, the way my house looks, the car I drive, no matter what it is, that impacts the way that I show up in the world.
That's right.
It makes me feel less than. And I think a lot of the times these challenges are all happening in our head.
Right.
It's all us doing it to us. And so we're the only one who can fix it. So these are ways to remind ourselves, pay attention to what you're thinking, pay attention to the way that you're treating yourself. Because once we get that in alignment, I think we really do get a much more positive and a much more healthy mindset, then we have a more positive and healthy life.
Good point, Gina. I like that. I'm going to get back to my nutritionist in LA and share with you some of the things that I learned from him. Again, his name is Derek Johnson. He's also a fitness specialist. He has a whole great office on Wilshire Boulevard. One of the first things he told me was never eat a carbohydrate all by itself. You always want to add a healthy fat or protein. And by healthy fats, the foods that have the omega-3 fatty acids, avocados are wonderful for you. They might be the best of all. Olive oil in your salad dressings. Salmon, super healthy. Other oily fish. Chia seeds. And I'm saving the best for last, dark chocolate. Yeah.
And those things that you're listing do help our bodies reduce stress. When we have enough omega-3s in our system, it helps our brain function better. It helps our joints function better. It just puts us in a much more optimal state, which helps us manage stress. So we're reducing stress on our body by eating properly, but it also helps us manage the stress outside because we're in a better position.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And they contribute to that healthy glow we talked about too.
Yes, they do. Oh my gosh. Yes. Eating healthy fats is so good for your skin.
Yeah. And he also encouraged me about the importance of vitamin D3. Mm-hmm. If you can get outside in the sunshine for 15 minutes even a day, that's really good for you. And if you can't.
Or won't. When it's hot and humid. I said, or won't when it's hot or humid.
Oh, yeah, like it is here today. There's no way. But there are great vitamin D3 supplements you can buy in any grocery store. So I take one of those every day. And the other one I also take a lot of is biotin, because that's really great for your hair and your nails. So eat breakfast or a snack within 45 minutes of waking up. Otherwise, your energy level starts to sag. So breakfast or at least a healthy snack within 45 minutes. He said, choose the natural carbs, the ones that come out of the ground, like brown rice, yams, sweet potatoes, beans, all of those things. As far as deeply colored fruits and vegetables, the darker colored lettuces and beans, and deep colored raspberries, blueberries, boysenberries, things like that. Those are the darker, the healthier.
Eat the rainbow. That's the tip, right? Eat the rainbow. Yeah. Get all the colors in that you can.
Yeah, that's right. Never go longer than 4 hours without eating. Because if you do, you're going to find yourself getting, maybe too hungry. And then the temptation to eat something that's not necessarily, very good for you overrules your desire to eat a healthy meal.
I think, too, when we aren't eating properly, I know it's true for me, it puts stress on the body when we're overly hungry or if we're overeating or undereating, they both cause physical stress.
Right. Yeah, if I'm undereating, then I find I start getting headaches and I get sleepy. My energy level really sags. So that's important to keep in mind. And it's easy to forget to eat if you're out having a busy day, but if you have some kind of protein bar in your purse or something like that, that you can nibble on, that's great. Now,
there's some really great, they're like meat sticks, but they're not, the greasy ones that we grew up seeing, I do love jerky, but I'm talking about, there's companies now that put out organic meats and they put them in little packages. And so there's bison and elk and chicken and turkey, and it's like 9 grams of protein. And so if you just check probably Sprouts, a store that has maybe healthier options, when they tend to cater to healthier, not your snack food stores. They're called meat sticks because they're just meat. And a lot of them they're hormone free and everything. And 9 grams of protein, keep that in your bag when you're feeling a little slumpy. That's a great way to get your blood sugar balanced so you can make good decisions and have a better mindset.
I'll look for them in our store. Otherwise, we've got a couple of good health nutrition places around here. That's good to know. I never heard of those. That's great. So then there again, remember that you can work with a nutritionist remotely. Go online and look for certified nutritionists in your area and check out their qualifications and so forth. But that really worked well for me. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is the importance of getting a good night's sleep, because I have found that women, as we get older, maybe men too, I don't know, have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. It's a problem that I'm hearing about a lot. So I was speaking at a big conference in Toronto a few years ago and met this Dr. Michael Bruce. He's known as the sleep doctor. Have you seen him or heard of him?
Ironically, I met him. I've been a makeup artist, as you know, for over 30 years. And a friend of mine is a producer. And they had this shoot, and they said, "Can you come and do makeup for the video that we're doing?" Meaning like a training video. It was a corporate video. And I said, "Sure." Well, Dr. Bruce was actually in that video, and he had been at a soccer game the day before and had been in the sun all day and gotten burned. And he's fair-skinned like us.
Yeah.
And so I used products to hydrate his skin so he'd have a nice glow and not look flaky and lobstery. And so we had a really good time together, and he is just a really fantastic man. His scope of knowledge is really broad, and he's very kind. So I had a really good experience with him. Thing that I did want to talk about real quick on this is a lot of the times as we get older, our serotonin and melatonin balances get off in our brain. We're not producing it the way we used to. So that is sometimes what contributes to the difficulty sleeping. So you could think about getting those levels checked.
Right.
To see if maybe you need to supplement what your body's no longer producing for whatever reason. So
yeah. I know. I remember. I don't have notes from this, but it's probably on his website. He talked about foods that help you sleep, that are good to have before you go to bed. I remember oatmeal was one, and dark cherries, I think, was one.
You can get the juice when it's out of season too.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah, we went to dinner with him a couple of times when he was living in Phoenix. I don't know if he's still there or not, but enjoyed him and his wife very, very much. And he really knows a lot about sleep. So the sleep doctor, I've seen him on Oprah's show too. And when Katie Couric was doing the Today Show, I remember he was on that with her, and he actually was in her bedroom with her and talking about the proper bedding and mattress and pillows and all of this. Yeah, he's great. What else did he say? He said it's important to that we try to get 7 hours of uninterrupted sleep at night. I mean, we all probably get up to run to the bathroom and then, but if you can just, do that and get back into bed really quick before you're even awake. I try to run without even opening my eyes almost, so I can stay asleep. Because that sleep is really what helps us in the process of healing the damage done the previous day. And so you don't want to defeat that. And if you interrupt your sleep too much, you also lose out on critical healing and thinking. I've also read a lot about how it makes you gain weight. If you don't get enough sleep, you not only don't think straight, but you get fat.
It's interesting. They talk about people who are sleep deprived. They've done tests comparing it to alcohol. And the way the brain functions tired is very similar to the way the brain functions when you have alcohol in your system.
Oh boy.
So you actually, when you don't have enough sleep, you're actually putting your brain at a deficit, which means you may make more mistakes. You may put yourself at risk or someone else at risk when you're driving or doing something like that. So sleep is actually, not enough sleep will put your brain in basically an intoxicated state, which is kind of scary. Your response time slow down, your ability to process slows down.
Right. Yeah.
So sleep so you're safe.
And I don't know, my husband and I, because I'm now 80 and he's 87, we have found we need a nap in the afternoon. Just, it can even be a power nap. But without that nap, I'm feeling very much like you were just talking about. So naps are healthy. No guilt when it comes to napping.
I can't remember who it was. It was an octogenarian. I think that's what it was. And they interviewed him, and the thing they had done for years is take a nap every day, 20 minutes, not a 3-hour nap, but like they had been power napping since they were like 30 years old.
Yeah.
Every day they took a 20-minute nap about the same, it had become a habit in their life. And they found that it was part of their longevity. They felt was really making sure that they were well rested.
Yeah. I know a couple of people like that too. One is actually a surgeon. And as long as we've known him since medical school, he's had to have that little nap every day after lunch.
Well, hey, and if your body is telling you to rest,
right.
Most of us can carve out 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I find a nap, a power nap of 20 minutes or so, I feel just as rested, if not more so, than if I sleep for an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there is the circadian rhythm, the cycle. There's a point where if you go too far, it actually makes you groggier.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. It's interesting how that affects our brains. But
it is. Something else he said, and this makes sense, stop caffeine by 2 p.m. I know some people are more susceptible to that than others, but it's a good point. And stop alcohol 3 hours, at least 3 hours before you go to bed, because as we all know, alcohol, especially wine, I think is full of sugar, and that gets you revved up. And alcohol also really interferes with your sleep. You may feel really tired, sleepy, and go to bed and zonk out for a couple of hours, 3 hours, and then you might wake up at 1 or 2 in the morning and you can't get back to sleep. That's a horrible thing. And then after that, you wake up with an awful headache. So it's a no-win. Exercise daily, but preferably not right before bedtime because that could rev you up some more. So try to get it in, during the early morning or, during the day, whatever. And then he talked also about the importance of at least 15 minutes of sunlight every morning. And what that does, it helps to reset your circadian rhythm. So sunlight is good from the nutritionist standpoint and from the sleep doctor's standpoint. And then also I have found before you go to bed, you get in bed, if you might have a television in your bedroom. I do, but I certainly don't listen to news. I don't want to listen to anything that's going to make me worried or, focus on the bad things that have happened during the day. I don't want to hear about it. So it's better to just get in bed and read an engrossing book, something that's total, like a beach book, totally escape, and just relax and enjoy it and put your mind in that. Or listen to music. That's another thing. But I love escaping into a good book.
What's really helped my husband is if you go on YouTube, you can find, they're like sound files, and they're meant for meditation or relaxation, or they're sleep sounds. So for him, I bought a magnesium drink called Calm, and then I give him that, and then I have him, get off of whatever it is he's doing and put that in. And so I'm giving him the magnesium to calm his body down, to help him sleep, and then to get his mind kind of prepared. So you can use an app like Headspace or Calm. Those are two apps right now that people are using to help go to sleep. I use Headspace, and they have these sleep casts. I don't know how to explain them other than they're kind of like a story with ambient sounds. And they for me, it helps my mind focus on what the story is, if you will. It's like reading a book, but I'm just giving into whatever they say, and their voices are calm. And they do a breathing exercise or some kind of like wind down. And then usually I fall asleep right after the wind down. I have no idea what they do after that. But it's like there's a lot of really great resources if somebody struggles with that. There's a bunch of different ways they can train their brain to go, oh, sleep time. And then their body will be like, oh yeah, we're sleeping now.
Yeah, good. That's a good point, Gina. I like that. I have heard of the Calm drink. Yeah.
It's really great, actually. I drink it too. And of course, the magnesium is good for your muscles. So for some people who in our age group and older might have muscle cramps, the magnesium does help reduce the cramping as well. So it's kind of like it calms your body, it helps you sleep, it helps your muscles. So it's a really great, and it comes in a bunch of flavors. And I'm not, I get no money from them, but I really love the product.
Well, that's good to know. That's great. Thank you. And then people always want to ask me about some of the modeling tips that I've picked up with Ford and Wilhelmina. Uh, so I'm happy to share a few of those. First of all, as we talked about before, pretty much about beauty really does come from the inside out. And being healthy is more important to your overall look and demeanor than what you're putting on the outside. So start from within. Smile, be happy. A great smile. That's the best beauty product of all, I think. So that I have found exfoliation to be a wonderful tool, and you can get it in all kinds of granular forms. Vitamin Shop that we pick up a lot of things like that. They have a lot of places have them. Your local CVS, has various things. But there's something else that I have found that I use it twice a day, morning and night, and my skin feels like satin. There's just nothing, it's never felt this smooth. And it's because of Clinique's clarifying lotion, which comes in strengths 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 being the mildest, 4 being the strongest. And you buy it at the Clinique counter. And I just, after I wash my face, I just take a cotton pad and run that over my whole face. It immediately makes your skin, your complexion look a whole lot better. It gets rid of all the uneven discolorations or whatever, and it's an exfoliator. It gets rid of all those funny little bumps and things. So Clinique clarifying lotion, and I don't work for Clinique like you were saying, but it really is great. I'm thrilled with it. A proper haircut and coloring, if you need that not only makes you look better but feel better too. My hair started turning to silver about 12 to 15 years ago, I guess, and I just let it go. It worked out for me. I know it's hard, harder for some people than for others, but that was the most liberating thing. And then shortly after that, having silver hair or gray hair, that became, the new hot thing, and it's all over Pinterest all the time now. So, don't be afraid to do that. Pinterest especially shows all kinds of great cuts and styles that you can blend in the gray or the silver with your hair color. As far as foundations go, because even with the clarifying lotion, I still need to just smooth out my foundation color, my skin color. And one that I learned about from a makeup artist on a photo shoot I was doing is made by L'Oreal. It's called Infallible. Comes in a tube. It's a 24-hour makeup. Hopefully you won't have to keep it on for 24 hours, but if you do, you're set. And it comes either in a matte finish or with a glow, so whatever works the best for you. But I love that, and it's buildable. You can put it on very thin and add to it if you need to. But L'Oreal Infallible, I love that. I love Revlon's Photo Ready Concealer. It's kind of like a lipstick, and I just run it under the dark lines. I have them under my eyes. Gets rid of them immediately. Super easy, not at all expensive. I love the cream blushes. I don't like to put, a whole lot of makeup, don't like a lot of powder on my face. I especially like the Laura Mercier cream blushes. I think a soft peach is very nice, but sometimes I'll use a bronzer, like Guerlain's bronzer, and put it underneath here, and then a pop of color on the apples of your cheeks. That's a Bobbi Brown tip. It really works. Makes your eyes kind of sparkle and look, better too. So the Guerlain bronzer, and then having your teeth whitened, I think, and keep them white. That makes you look a whole lot younger. I love that. And then I found that Amazon, which has been my go-to for everything during this whole coronavirus thing. Amazon, I don't know, how many of your listeners know this, but they carry an awful lot of products that you can no longer find in the drugstore. So, yeah, like discontinued things. Like the lipstick I wear all the time is a Revlon that the drugstores stopped carrying a couple of years ago, but I've never been able to find another brand that's exactly the right color like this one is. So I looked for it on Amazon, and sure enough, they have it. I've also found that with hairsprays, sometimes you can't find the one you want. Amazon will probably have it.
It'd be a great resource too. You don't think about it, but it's not only is it easy, but you can shop quicker and get to the point. It comes to your door. It's like the best thing ever.
Oh, I love it. I really love it. I use it for everything.
The beauty tips are really, I think, for where we're at in our season of life, midlife and beyond. I have a friend who's going gray right now. You talked about going gray. And I'm really excited for her because she said, she was dark haired naturally. And then started doing the blonde to try to kind of cover the gray. And finally, after quarantine, she had this humongous outgrowth of silver. And I said, she's like, I think I'm going to do it. And that is something that I've met women who've gone silver or gray, whatever you want to call it. And it is super trendy. Like you said, on Pinterest, on Instagram, there's entire profiles just highlighting people with it. So I would say that it's really more of an empowering thing now than ever before. And it is actually normally very beautiful.
It's so funny. I have to laugh because I get stopped all the time by women and men saying, I love your hair, and that never happened. All the years when I lived on the East Coast, I went into New York, spent hundreds of dollars, at the salon with the French colorist. I don't think I ever got stopped once asking about my hair. Now it happens all the time.
I know, because some people actually color their hair gray on purpose, and you have that beautiful silvery gray naturally, which is a gift. But I wanted to ask you, what are the top 3 things that you do, Valerie? What are your kind of favorite things to do to de-stress and to kind of cope with a lot of change and difficulty? What do you like to do?
Okay. I think social interaction. I love talking, or if I can, getting together with our friends or just my girlfriends. That makes me feel great. And also my own kids, really important. So that would be one. Things that I talked about in the power when I was talking about the power of the mind. I'll go back to Audrey Hepburn's quote, where she said, "Don't fret, it will happen differently anyway," because it always does. I mean, all of those things I talked about in the power of the mind, but that one is just as good as any of the others. And then I think the Clinique exfoliating lotion, the Clinique clarifying lotion, because that really does keep my skin, in tip-top shape. And it's so inexpensive and easy to do.
Yeah. One of the things about having a good skincare item, because I'm a skincare junkie, is stress impacts the skin. It's our largest organ. So if we are under a lot of stress, our skin is going to be one of the first places that stress shows up.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to do the inside outside together if you want to, look and feel good. So, yeah. Valerie, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you and to, have the example of a woman who's 80 and still beautifully vibrant and living a rich life and wanting to encourage people to look to the future with hope and expectation that there are great things coming. And so I really appreciate you spending the time today to inspire my listeners and just share the beautifulness that is you.
Thank you, Gina. I have to say, sharing my tips or my life stories or whatever with, other women is one of the things I enjoy the most. So it was my pleasure, really, and my treat to be with you today, because you do such a good job with all of this. Thank you.
My pleasure. So today I've been speaking with Valerie Ramsey, mother of 6, grandmother of 8, former PR director for Pebble Beach, a model, an author of 2 books, Gracefully Looking and Being Your Best at Any Age, and Creating What's Next Gracefully. If you head over to www.feminineroadmap.com/episode 174, you will find links in the show notes to get to Valerie and her books and her resources. While you're there, please leave your name and your email address. Join my tribe. I send out periodic emails for encouragement, and I also have a gift for you when you sign up. Friends, these times are challenging. Life can be challenging, and stress is a real thing that we all experience. And while sometimes we know what we need to do, it's difficult to practice the things that we do. So today we've brought some great tips and tricks. Just choose one thing and add it to your life, my friends. My favorite is choosing the way that you think. Once we choose to think better thoughts, we get better outcomes. I want to thank you so much for being a part of my tribe, listening to this podcast each week. You are valuable. You are worthy. I'm so grateful for you. And I hope you have a wonderful, lower stress week this week. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.